Whoa! Welcome to the What's Up Reddit podcast. We fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name's JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host, Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification button. Hit them all. Click them. That way you'll be able to keep up with all of our episodes. We got some live episodes that'll be coming up here in a couple of weeks. We do a lot of fun stuff with that. Tell your family about us as well. Tell your friends about us. Tell a medieval knight. Or
Tell
go
a
to your
LARPer.
Renaissance. Yeah, as I say, go to
Tell
the Renaissance
a LARPer
fair.
about us.
Yeah, hit the Renaissance fair. Tell a LARPer, tell a Renaissance-y fan. Renaissance. Go to, what's that freaking place in Vegas called? Go to the Castle Casino in Vegas and go to their show and tell one of their knights about us. We'd love to have those guys. But if you can't tell, we are here to review A Knight's Tale. It is week 4 of and the final week of this round of Guilty Pleasures. This one's mine, and it is A Knight's Tale. It was released May 11th, 2001. It was written by and directed by Brian Helgeland. It stars Heath Ledger, Mark Addy, Alan Tudyk, Paul Bettany, Laura Fraser, Berenice Bejo, Shannon Sossaman, James Purefoy, and Rufus Sewell. Sorry, I just reading the cast makes me laugh. After his master dies, a peasant squire, fueled by his desire for food and glory, creates a new identity for himself as a knight.
I love how they put food first in this analysis.
The landscape is food. Oh, shit. Okay, so I have to tell a story about this movie and how I saw this movie for the first time. And it's one of those stories that I probably shouldn't tell because I might offend some people.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah. So as some of you know, I don't talk about it a lot, but there was a time in my life when I was part of a religion. And as part of that religion, they send out young men to different parts of the world to teach about this said religion. And I went to Alec's home state of Arizona when I was sent out to do the work. And I was not, look, I did what I was told, but I was not the most obedient missionary out there, especially near the end. I had some bad experiences with some of the leaders within that whole thing, and it didn't taste well. But I wasn't willing at that time to come home and have my parents have to be ashamed of the fact that I was sent home early and all that stuff. So I toughed it out, but I wasn't the most obedient dude. So I saw this movie on my mission in Scottsdale, Arizona.
A scandal.
I know. Watch out now. I remember I had a companion who was like weeks from going home, and was burnt out, didn't care. And it was like a Friday afternoon. And he's like, "Do you want to go to a movie?" I'm like, "Yep, I do." He's like, "What should we go see?" And this had just come out the week before. And so we went and saw this movie. So I fell in love with this movie. Like, this became an instant classic for me. And I'm sure part of it is because the circumstances of me seeing this film, like I hadn't watched a movie in a year and a half. And like, I wasn't prepared for what this was. And it was like one of the only things out at the time that was worth watching, or that I could justify going to see and not feeling bad about it. As bad as I probably should have, and given the circumstances, I don't feel at all bad about it now. But I thought that was a great story to lean into. Like, it's a good section of why this was a guilty pleasure for me. Yeah, loved it.
Excellent. And it's a great, reminder or introduction to JJ's heathen lifestyle for any new people listening.
That's fair. Yeah, I am no longer part of that religion. I am no longer religious at all. In fact, I'm about as non-religious as it gets.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought it was a great story. And it's one of those things, I'll never forget this movie. Even if I didn't like it, I would never forget this movie because
the circumstances
are so exactly. And you're sweating bullets, like, because you're in this place where, and you think that everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
But they don't. There's like maybe 100 people in the area that know who you are. But you're in the theater. We had sunglasses on and hats on. We're like looking around, all paranoid. We went to like a city one over from Scottsdale to see it. It was funny. But anyway.
Great.
Yeah. So with that, like, one of the things that stood out to me with this that I didn't understand at the time, because at the time, nobody in this cast was huge. They were all relatively unknowns, except in their, like, Mark Addy had done a lot of television in England. We do know that Heath Ledger at the time he'd already done 10 Things I Hate About You, but that was the biggest, like, and he had gotten pretty big after that. Like, everybody wanted him because he was really good in that. But other than that, most, like, Shannon Sossaman, the one that plays his love interest, that I always forget her name, Jocelyn. This was her first movie. She was a dancer prior to this. But this cast all now are well-known names, like massive. Every single one of the main cast have done big blockbuster films or blockbuster television or both, right? So, and it shows, like, and the reason I wanted to talk about the cast before we get into specific members of the cast, as a whole, this movie without this cast sucks balls.
Garbage.
Terrible. Because what makes this movie, in my opinion, and the reason it's one of my guilty pleasures, is because as a movie, like, just in a vacuum, without this cast, it's not a good movie. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. There are contradictions throughout this movie where it gets in its own way, but I don't give a shit about any of it because the cast is so charismatic and fun to watch in every essence of this film. Even the bad guy, even Rufus Sewell, is like outrageously good in this movie. It's the cast and watching them interact and that part, and like the heart that this cast has, that makes this movie good. Outside of that, the movie's pretty bad. Like, in a vacuum, it's terrible. But the cast is insane. And so, right, I want to talk about specifically some characters, but I want to run through this real quick. So Heath Ledger needs no introduction. Greatest Joker ever. Guy's an actor across the board. He's done so many good things. Gone way too early. Mark Addy becomes King Robert in Game of Thrones. Probably one of the best characters in that, even though he's only in it for 7 episodes, right? Shannon Sossaman, first movie, but she went on to do a couple of movies, never really took off, but she was okay in this. Paul Bettany, Jesus.
Vision. What hasn't he done?
Yeah, exactly. This guy's all over the place. Also nominated for Oscars. Like, he's great. Alan Tudyk, one of the most underrated comedians on the planet, in my opinion.
Dude, incredible voice work, too. Oh. Like, he's one of those that can do both really well, on screen and voice work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. He's so good. He's one of my favorite actors, underrated actors out there. And You're right. His voice work is outrageously good. Rufus Sewell has done a lot of great movies. He's never been like the superstar, but he's played some unbelievably good supporting characters and villains. Like in this one, like, and he was just in, I don't know if you've watched the TV show called The Diplomat on Amazon.
No, I haven't seen it. He's in it?
Weird show. He's in it. He plays the main character's husband, and he was a former diplomat himself. Really funny in this show. He's very good.
All right.
So he's good. You have James Purefoy, who's also done as, the Black Prince of Wales. Like, he's done a lot of stuff. He's never done like a starring outrageous role, but anything he's in, he's good. So I just wanted to run through. And at this time, none of these people, except for Heath Ledger, kind of, were known entities. And now every single one of them, you can say their name and they're like, oh yeah, or they see their face. Oh yeah, I know exactly that. Or,
but they don't know their name. They know them from A Knight's Tale, which is the weirdest thing. Like, especially for me, I was like, oh, that's the guy from A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when the first season of Game of Thrones dropped,
Yeah.
And you see, Mark Addy as Robert Bernathy, and I was sitting there, I was going, I know him from somewhere. Where do I know him from? And it popped in A Knight's Tale. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yep. When he first rides into Winterfell, I was like, I love it. It's Knight's Tale. I was so excited. Like, it was great.
It's rolling.
It's rolling. God love you, William.
Because nobody else will.
Nobody else will. Yeah. But to your point, the best, in my opinion, the best chemistry in this movie is, and this is a bold statement because there's a lot of good chemistry with a lot of these characters. But the number one, the most impactful to me is Alan Tudyk and Paul Bettany.
Oh, dude. It's almost like they are trying to either one-up each other or to get the other to break character in the way they interact. Like it almost felt like a competition, and it works.
Oh, yeah.
It works exceptionally well with their characters. I mean, even from their initial meeting. Right?
Oh. Come on. Oh, shit. Chaucer has one of the greatest introductions to as a character in all of film history, in my opinion.
Oh,
just see his ass walking down dirty, doesn't even stop. He's just like, whatever. Oi, sir.
What do you do? I'm trudging. Like, not walking, not moping, not anything that you would think to put there. Trudging. To trudge. To walk aimlessly with no purpose, but not willing to lay down and die, or whatever he says.
I'd quote it, but I'd look even crazier than I am.
Your entrails will become your extrails.
That is one of the funniest, dude. What is it that he starts with? He's like, okay, let's talk, and he walks him over, and the other two are like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen? And they're starting to laugh. But yeah, what was it he says to him right out the gate? I can never remember the first line of it, but yeah, he's like, I will thong you. Your entrails will become your extrails. Your extrails will become your entrails.
Well, I love how they get around using explicit language with thong you.
Yeah. I think a good thonging is I know, Master Valhurst, a good thonging is in order.
Yeah.
He's holding the thing, he punches the helmet. Oh God. I love it. It's fantastic.
But it's just, I mean, the best sequence in this, in my opinion, is when they're trying to teach Heath Ledger how to dance.
Oh, yeah.
And Paul Bettany is calling the steps. And it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And Wop doesn't lead. He follows like a girl. And you just get straight punch, right? Blackout. And then it cuts to the next scene, and Paul Bettany's doing it again, but this time he's got to rag up his nose because he's got a bloody nose.
When he does it, immediately follows it up with, he's like 1 and 2 because he hits like a what? A girl. It's thong and swear, mate. I mean, it just goes up. Yeah, the two of them. Well, and then like watching them progress to become friends by the end, like, is just phenomenal. Because I love part 2. Like, if you want to go serious for a note, after Adamar beats William the first time in that first one, and he's rubbing it in his face, and then Watt wants to go beat the shit out of him, and Chaucer like shoves him and gets serious, like, go see to Ulrich. Like, it's just like, to me, Bettany almost steals this movie. If it weren't for the fact that Heath Ledger is so good, I think Bettany would have been the best character in this movie because he understood better than anyone. Like, you can tell he's the smartest dude in the room.
Yeah.
And Bettany plays that perfectly. Like, even when he's in the background, like, he's got like a little smirk on his face, or he looks concerned or frightened, or when they're at the stocks and the prince is pardoning him and then knighting him, like, he looks relieved, like he sits down on the stocks base, and Paul Bettany is like, I just can't help but watch him when he's on screen, even if he's not the focal point. I watch him, which is a testament to his ability to act in the background as well. But yeah, I'm with you. Like between him and Alan Tudyk, like this is where I fell in love with Alan Tudyk. I'd never heard of Alan Tudyk, and then I went and watched Firefly because I watched this movie, and then I started seeking out ways to watch Tudyk because he cracks my shit up in this film.
Oh yeah, like and either one of them by themselves would have been able to carry the movie, but them together.
Oh, dude.
Oh, them together is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then it's almost like you have the other two. So you have Mark Addy or Roland, and then you have Kate, the Fraser. I can't remember her first name, but they are constantly egging those two on top of it. Like it's just, yeah. There's a couple of moments with Tudyk that I think about. Like the first one is the first one's always the I will thong you. Like the intro is pain, lots of pain, and then the second one is when they're sleeping and William can't sleep and rolls and then they get down and he pops up. He's like, "Dandy cakes,
concentrate." Dandy cakes.
And yeah, and then the third one that I always think of is like when he takes the letter to Jocelyn and then he has to come back and kiss William. And like he's all happy and having a good time messing with William, and then William's like, "Did she send me a token? She did. Well, give it to me." And William loses it. It's having a great time. And it's also one of my favorite Paul Bettany parts because he just gets this big smile like, "Dude, you just got excited because your dude kissed you. Like, that's great." I fucking love it. Like the interactions, and that's why I say the cast makes this film. Like it could have been about anything as a group of people was in it, and I think it would have been enjoyable. Like, yeah. And there's so many little moments, like Paul Bettany when Jocelyn's sneaking into the tent, and he's like, "Guinevere comes to Lancelot.
Yeah,
bet him well, my lady. Bet him well." Then
it just works.
Yeah, it just is perfect. But then there's like, did you ever watch have you ever seen the deleted scenes?
I think I've seen some of them, but
most of them are stupid. But there's one that's connected to that night and how you always see Chaucer naked because he's losing his clothes in the gambling. There's a moment where after he says the bet him well, there's a part where somebody goes looking for Chaucer. And he's in like some tent with his wife, and he has this wife, and they're both naked. Like, and they think that he lost all his clothes again. It's pretty funny, but other than that, the rest weren't that good. But that one was pretty funny. But yeah, just the cast is outrageously good. And the one-liners in this movie.
Oh, dude, some of the best ever.
Seriously, it's great, and all of his like pitches, like his ramp up.
"My lords,
oh my god,
my ladies, and anybody else here not seated on a cushion."
It's like by the would-be ravishings of her dreadful Turkish uncle, and then he's like, "Oh," it's so good. Funny story about that too, like the one where he wins the sword, and that first time and Bettany goes off. So I'd never noticed it before. Like that's a funny part because like he goes through this whole rousing thing after he wins, and the whole crowd's just kind of like, "What do we do?" Well, in real life, and you're nodding like you know it, that actually
I know it
happened. And I'd never noticed it until this watch. I've watched this movie 100 times, but I'd never noticed it. There's two ladies in the background as he's going off. And when he lifts William's arm, they both go up like they're about to cheer, and they look and see nobody else do it and go. And I was like, "That's like that." I never noticed it, but now that I know, because that was purposeful, or it wasn't. It was on accident because none of them spoke English.
Yeah, they all missed their cue.
Yeah, and they're all standing there, and Mark Addy actually did to get them going, and then it worked. Like I was like, "What a great!" That's just like. That story to me is the epitome of the perfection of this movie because that's the funny shit that works that shouldn't work, but it does. You know what I mean? How lucky are you that goof up fits in your movie perfectly?
Right. It's like this entire movie was just a bunch of happy accidents that they were filming.
Not to mention, that was one of the best training montages,
dude,
ever made.
Lowrider,
dude. Which we're going to talk about here in a minute, but
oh my gosh! But every single part of this, it takes that training, like, you know, montage that you get and just ups it to be ridiculous. It's like all this training they're doing where they're running on a wagon. Like, it serves no purpose except for the line of, oh, well, I guess we'll have to do it again because he missed it. It's like, where were you starting from? Because they're going for times forever. Like, I feel like you could back up about 30 feet and get the same result, but they were going for like half a mile. Or the same thing, but they're pulling a boat along a little stream.
Yeah. One, like, the thing that you know should, like, the reason you shouldn't do it happens. Like, when he catches it and then falls in a full plate of armor, of course you're gonna sink. And it's like, any minute now. It's just, well, yeah, I love when he gets, we've done it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got to do it again. Yeah. Come on, ponies. Yeah.
But it's so good because it's mixed in with showing that he's like really good at the sword.
Yeah.
Right. But it plays off well because the two of them are huffing and puffing and trying to take a break as he's beating the tar out of him with a wooden practice sword.
It's so good.
And then you get snatches of that with snatches of him not being able to get the lance and the
yeah, when he's driving by it and missing, he's like, I think he's getting worse. He is getting worse. All you gotta do is hit the thing. Like, it's yeah. Great
and then, like,
montage.
Even when he's successful, it's not, because we talked about the boat thing, but when he hits the shield on the practice dummy and it comes around and hits him on the head.
Yeah. He's all celebrating until it smacks him. Oh yeah. And I just, like, I think one of the reasons I love too, like, because I watch that over and over, and I've always had a group of friends that I think about, and like, even like I goof around, I'm watching it last night and I'm like, I could see me and Alec and Javier getting together and being these three fucking morons.
Oh yeah.
In 100%. Some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so relatable. And I think, again, that goes back to this cast and like the story to a degree, but they make it so relatable and enjoyable to watch. Because you can go, I could see myself doing some dumb shit like that with my friends. Yeah. And I could see me taunting my friends. Like William, like, he takes coins. He goes, if you can get the coins, you can have them. And he's like, see, money doesn't. And then they fucking attack his ass when he gives his guard down. You see how hungry I am? Damn your stomach, Watt. I love it. It also has one of the best, like, in the middle montages too. Like when he's just demolishing people with his new armor, and you see it starts with Adamar at war, and he's going through the winning parchment scene, and he's getting pissed because it's just Ulrich winning. Yeah, Ulrich. And so, and then it goes to him just beating the shit out of everybody, knocking people off horses. Yeah, it's great. Like, it's just the visuals and it's just a lot of fun, man. Just a lot of fun. But I was thinking about it as I was watching this, because we have a topic up for vote right now. Here's my shameless plug. If you want to get in our voting on our topics, like we're doing guilty pleasures this month, we have some topics on our Patreon that you can vote on. If you join our Patreon, you can vote on those topics and then vote on the movies within those topics that we send out. One of them is movies with great soundtracks right now. Like, that's the topic. And I was watching it going, fuck, we could have done this movie for that, because this movie has an outrageous soundtrack. Like you already mentioned, Lowrider.
Let's talk about how it opens.
Dude.
With
We Will Rock You? Oh, yeah.
Oh. And it perfectly sets the tone of the film, right?
Yeah.
You have this because looking at it from the title and kind of if you do the trailer, A Knight's Tale, it's going to be like the serious medieval kind of story. It was kind of big in the early 2000s. You had a couple coming out, these like historical epic stuff.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking that's what it's going to be like. And it starts off with, We Will Rock You. And you got people singing. You have, it's just this fun atmosphere at a joust to where it's not this serious event. It's this like, couple goons having fun. And then it just keeps that entire kind of feel to it throughout the movie. And it starts off with having this, having Queen come out. Yeah. And I mean, even to the point where when you're wrapping up the song, you got the guy on the trumpet, right?
Yeah.
Just going.
Oh, God, I love it.
But yeah, you got Queen, you got Lowrider.
Boys are back in town.
Yeah. But just the two alone would have been great. But then you add Boys Are Back in Town.
My favorite one is when they're in the banquet and they start dancing and all of a sudden freaking Bowie comes on with Golden Years, dude. That's my favorite tune that they just randomly drop in there. You're like, and it was perfect because they're dancing all weird and then they start getting funky and it's just that badass Bowie run. The do. Yeah, I fucking love that. Yeah, outrageous soundtrack. And what else is on there?
Taking Care of Business.
Oh,
that's a great one.
Yeah, as he's beating everybody up in the sword ring. That's and Taking Care of Business.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
It shouldn't be that good.
Yeah.
Is the thing, like based on everything that you would expect from this film, from the title, from who's in it, everything points to this being kind of one of those serious historical epics.
Yeah, like a period drama.
Yeah, period drama and nothing. No. Not even close.
No, it's pure period comedy. Like, And I love too, like, and that's one of the first things that I thought when I watched this the first time was when they come in and I was thinking, okay, they're just going to lay some modern songs over this. But then you see the crowd doing the actual stomp, clap, stomp. And then the one dude's like singing it, like the king or the royal that's over this thing starts singing the, We Will Rock You. And then, like you said, the trumpet guy on his thing, dude, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. Like, I'm ready to go. This is cool. Because they shouldn't be doing that. And it should bother me that they are doing that.
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't. It works so much for me. So, yeah, I'm with you. One of the greatest soundtracks and one of the best usages of a soundtrack as well.
I mean, even with Rock of Ages, like there's a couple songs there where we're like, and that's coming from this like 30 years after the song's been written is where they're setting this, or it's set in the same time that the songs are being written. And it's kind of like, I wish they wouldn't have done that, but I don't have any of that problem with what they did here.
No. Well, I mean, and they incorporate like great, like AC/DC, like You Shook Me All Night. Like it's just good. Like it's just great songs, and it fit every moment, which I thought was pretty cool. Before we get into the final topic, which is a great topic to close on, I do want to talk about, I put a lot of stuff in here that I love because I do love this movie, but there are some things that aren't like, they stand out to me. Like the rules of the joust like change 9 times in this movie. Like it seems like there's an aggregate of, broken lances. And then it seems like you only get 3 shots at this shit. And then there's like this tournament where he's losing to prove his love, which is also a really funny sequence. William, that's blasphemous, as he cranks on his shoulder. And then,
what are you doing? Losing.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Neither do I.
I love the part where Tudyk like points at Kate, and he's like, like,
or even like Paul Bettany, he's like, did you see the flag drop? Yeah, I saw that flag drop. Is everything okay?
Rather you were blind.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just the timing's great because they had just bet everything that they had on him winning that tournament because she was there. The flanks of his horse. His horse's flanks. Maybe where he's from, it means love. So stupid. Anyway, but there were some parts where I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think to the movie's credit, at least for me, because I know that this isn't like there's people that are going to watch this and be like, this movie sucks. But for me, like, that's testament to this movie is that I don't care. And I've nitpicked the shit out of movies in the last 3 years on this podcast for things that contradict themselves or don't make sense. But I'm like, I forgive it all for this movie because I'm so wildly entertained throughout it that I just don't care that it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, this is great. I love it. But anyway.
And to be fair, like the things that we would nitpick on this are a lot smaller than other stuff we've done.
Sure.
Like as far as guilty pleasures go and the stuff that we chose, like this is by far the best one. As far as the movie goes, it is top notch. But I mean, there's no way it's not going to have its issues with how it treats itself as a period comedy.
Yeah,
there's no way they give two shits about any kind of continuity or what makes sense or putting you into the story. They don't care.
Like there was one part that I don't even remember what I was watching last night, but I was like, man, that is not what they said how that works earlier. Like I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, so I have to talk Heath Ledger. We've talked a lot about the cast and we've mentioned him, and I've talked a lot about him when we did Batman. I mean, you weren't on the podcast yet at that point, but I'm sure you listened to the episode when we talked about Heath Ledger. Like, I'm a massive dude. There's a lot of celebrities that when they've passed away, I've been like, oh man, that's terrible, right? Like, that's a loss. There have been a handful that when they've passed, I'm like it crushed me. Like, I would go see shitty movies because Heath Ledger was in them. Like, one of them after this movie, almost the same cast, minus Alan Tudyk, and I think Paul Bettany. I don't remember if he was in it or not, but they did a movie called The Order, which was the same writer, director, and Heath Ledger was in it. Shannon Sossaman was in it. Mark Addy was in it. I think even Marcus Sewell, but there was a lot of the same people in it. Really bad movie. It did not have the same, it took itself way too seriously. It was dark. It was weird. But Heath Ledger, it doesn't matter how bad the movie is. He is phenomenal in everything he ever did from once he got into movies. I can't say anything about like the Australian TV shows and soap operas that he was in because I've never seen that shit. But the movies that he was in, the guy was head and shoulders above the rest in everything. Like, I think about Brothers Grimm. Do you ever watch that movie? It's another terrible ass movie, but he and Matt Damon, amazing. They're great in it because they can act amazingly. And so I just always like to talk about Ledger because it's sad. Like, it crushed me when he passed away. I was like, God damn. Because I loved him long before he was the Joker. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what most people, you say Heath Ledger, they think of the Joker. You say Heath Ledger to me, I think of William Thatcher. You know what I mean? And then I think of the Joker. Because those are his two parts. But like, there wasn't anything he's done. Like, even The Patriot. Like, I hate The Patriot. Javier and I used to get into it about the fucking Patriot. I hate that fucking movie. It's long and terrible and not great. Fucking historically inaccurate, out of the ass. But again, Heath Ledger in it was amazing. He was in another one called The Four Feathers. Did you ever watch that one?
Yep.
The one that with the British Army in Africa. Fucking terrible movie. He was amazing. So he's just outrageous. I wish he was still here doing great movies because I don't think he was even 30 years old when he passed away. No. So yeah, terrible that he went so young and without being able to do more. But I always like to talk about him whenever I watch it. And this movie is no different. Like, he was amazing in this movie. Just how silly and then how serious and how heartfelt. Like, I get emotional. Like when he comes and he meets up with his dad again, like that shit gets me. I'm like, fuck, I'm not crying. Get the fuck out of here.
No, I do cry.
Oh yeah, dude. I fucking bawl like a baby. Like, I'm sitting, And it got me when I watched it the first time in the movie theater. I was like, oh, fuck, this is emotional. I want to see my dad. I haven't seen him in a year and a half. This is bullshit. Oh, shit. Great movie. I'm going to score this way higher than it deserves, but that's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Should we rate it?
Let's do it.
Okay, friend, you go first. It was my movie.
Right. JJ's movie, I get to go first. See, now I hate this because JJ picked 2 movies that stupid, right? Surface level stupid for pleasure, but underneath that surface level, you've got like great themes, right? In A Knight's Tale, it doesn't matter what you were born as. You put your mind to something, you can rise above your stars, right? And it has those moments where it takes a break from the comedy and goes kind of serious, but it doesn't kind of contrast, right? It still feels and flows because these serious moments are so small, right? So one of my favorites is when he's first jousting against, or not first jousting, but he's jousting against the Black Prince.
Oh, right? Yeah, Colville.
And Colville. And, everybody's withdrawing type of a thing. And he decides to, face him. And, you got the Lance. Like that moment to me is just like, yeah.
I know, right?
So it's annoying because this was Guilty Pleasures and JJ picked 2 really good movies and I picked 2 really bad ones. and JJ's on the surface are super bad, but if you look at them as a whole, they're actually good. So it's getting a 4 from me.
Nice.
I will always watch A Knight's Tale. There is never any time where someone's like, hey, you want to watch Knight's Tale? No, I'm okay. I will say the nitpicky part that I have is actually the dance scene because it feels so weird.
Yeah.
But it's not weird enough to make me not want to watch it. So yeah, 4 for me. I will be watching this again. And this, out of all of the, guilty pleasure movies, is the one I will watch most frequently. So yeah, well done, JJ. Good pick.
Yeah, thank you. You have to kind of blame Charles though, because he picked the 4 movies that we watched out of 6, and my one that was a shit movie, shit movie, he didn't pick. So I'll make sure that it ends up back on the list. If we ever do guilty pleasures again, I will make sure that I have my shit guilty pleasures, not my these are actually good movies if you really get past your own fucking bullshit. Because that to me is like when people are like, this movie sucks, I'm like, then you don't get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
missed the point.
Yeah, and especially A Knight's Tale. Like when we did Rock of Ages, like somebody can say this movie sucks balls, and I'm like, you're probably right. Like I can't argue someone saying this movie sucks. When someone says A Knight's Tale sucks, I have to look. You just don't get it. Then you missed everything about this movie that was the point of it. Because leading into my rating, this movie is in my top 5 films of all time, and it's completely and utterly biased. Like I understand that if you put my other 4 into next to these side by side, it doesn't make sense.
One of these is not like the others.
Exactly. Like I look, you can at me all you want on this one because I understand and I completely agree with you that on paper it isn't the same caliber. But there are very few movies that I can think of, if any, that make me more happy watching this movie than Knight's Tale, because and again it goes back partially to how I was introduced to the movie. It's an interesting, weird story, but ultimately this is just my kind of film, like when I just want to feel good. And there's crazy emotion to it, like you said, like when he meets the dad. I love too the serious part where they write the letter, because it's this mixture of serious, like it's a pretty romantic fucking deal. But the way they get there is hilarious, like with fucking Watt crying and shit. Like
this son misses the
flower. She was being cooked for the Duke of York. Like, oh God! And he starts crying. Like I just love that moment because it. And again, it's like one of those things where if you're not paying attention to how good these actors are in that moment, because you drop any other 5 actors in that scene, it does not work. the chemistry. And if you go back and watch any interviews with those 5 people or 4 that you can watch interviews on now, they hearing especially Paul Bettany talk about Heath Ledger and then Alan Tudyk and like all of the chemistry and the cohesion that they had, like it makes sense why this movie's so good, because they're like, we just had fun. We just enjoyed ourselves, and everybody on the cast, everybody on the film was having a good time. The other thing that we didn't talk about that I mentioned, Rufus Sewell, dude, Count Adamar is one of the most
diabolical villains
deep
ever.
Like villains period that I can think of. Like the guy's crazy. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like when he has that moment after they put William in the stocks and he's in the jail and he comes in and he's like punching him and doing the you've been measured and weighed shit again, like that. And then his lips quivering because he realizes he still hasn't broken this dude. Like, I love Count Adamar as a villain. So, anyway, I love this movie. I say all of that to say that I'm giving this a 5 because I could watch, and I'm with you, Alec. Like, you could recommend, I could have watched this movie 100 times, and then you say one more time, can we watch it again? And I'd be like, hell yeah, we can. I will never tire of this film. I will watch it anytime, anywhere. Anybody wants to watch it, give me a call. I'll watch it with you because I have never watched it and been like, this sucks. Like I laugh, I cry, I have a good time, and I walk away feeling better than before I watched it, which to me, how can you go wrong, right? So guilty pleasure, but I will defend it till the day I die. So there it is. Alec, tell everybody where they can find us when they're not listening to us talk about shitty good movies. I can't wait for this one.
Noble listeners, we have reached the end of this grand tale where knowledge and wisdom have been our trusty steeds and curiosity our shining armor. But fear not, for this is not the end of our journey together. Join our current patron, Secret Invasion Seasons 2, 3, and 4. Great new name there. For more stories await in the realm of knowledge. And we shall ride forth again to discover new horizons. Until then, dear friends, I bid thee farewell and encourage thee to seek the truth, for it shall set thee free. Fare thee well, and may your hearts be as brave as the boldest knights. With that, I'll kick it back to the Titan of Terror, Jack Dunn's baby, a JJ.
I love you, dude. That was fucking
too much hand time on my hands.
All I can think about, like, as you were doing that, like, all I heard was, I will eviscerate you in fiction. Every pimple, every character flaw. I was naked for a day. You will be naked for eternity. Which is such a great line because it, like, those two characters are actually in Geoffrey Chaucer's A Knight's Tale. Yeah. And he fucking shits on them the whole story. Oh, so good. So good. Well, this has been a fun month of guilty pleasures, ending with one of my favorite movies of all time. But we've had some fun. I got movies I haven't seen before. I got movies I thought I liked better than we actually did. And yeah, it's good stuff. If you want to get in on our next one, like Alex said, go hit up our Patreon. We got topics up right now. Probably by the time you're listening to this episode, there'll be movies for you to vote on for the different topics. Yeah. So lots to do over there. And then as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to make Alec watch another trailer that you'll be able to see from there. So with that,
hooray.
As always, we appreciate you tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinematic out.
Send help for the trailer.
I love it.
Whoa!